Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMolder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we are going to answer a letter from somebody who is dating with a chronic illness. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, not even close.
No, we're also not like experts in chronic illness either. So let's just name that out the gate as well.
Yep. We don't know what we're talking about, but hopefully we can give it good advice. But said advice is only our opinion. So please take it as you see fit in your life. We are only here to offer a humble musing, so hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding, but mostly confusing experience that is love.
All right, let's get into today's letter. So today's letter comes from Kels E., whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing from Ouchville. Sam and Sierra, I am a 23-year-old bisexual woman, she, her, who feels unworthy of a normal and true love due to her chronic illness. To start out, I'm going to come out cleanly and say that I have Crohn's disease, and for the past 4 years, my physical health and my mental health has rapidly declined. There's not a week that goes by where I'm doing some sort of lab work for doctors to try and figure out the next thing that's wrong with me. My Crohn's has also led to other illnesses and diseases, and it's just hard for me to stay positive about living a day-to-day life. Let's also not forget that when you're constantly having to tell people there is something wrong with you, it takes a toll on your mental health. It also takes a toll on your social circle due to not always being available to leave the house or to get out of bed that day. I can't lie that there is this small part of me that one day just wants to go home to someone to be able to talk about how our days went. Up to this point, I have never dated anyone because I'd rather be comfortable with my own independence and not having to rely on someone because of some stupid health problems. I just don't feel like I could have a healthy relationship with someone if I'm constantly dumping my burdens on them. There's also the problem that because of this illness, it is hard for me to go out and find people as well as continue on with a relationship. Because of this, I found myself just hooking up and then ghosting people in order to avoid potential feelings and the embarrassment that comes with having to tell them that my Crohn's controls my life, causing me to have a very small social battery and some days with having little to no energy. How can I get the motivation to go out and talk to people? And how am I supposed to not let this illness ruin a future relationship when it feels like I will only receive bad news regarding my health? Can people truly love me even though my chronic illness controls my mood and my ability to do simple things?
Oh, my darling, thank you so much for writing and for trusting us with this very tender letter. I feel so honored to answer it and to hold your hand across the void virtually. I think that I first just want to say the fatigue and the sense of, isolation and withdrawal that you're experiencing from your physical existence is really understandable. I know that you are not alone in experiencing all of this emotional roller coaster as somebody who has a chronic illness. I know that there's people out there who know exactly what you're talking about. And I guess I just want to say that's real. Obviously it's real and valid, but I think that we live in a hustle culture, where we villainize, quote, laziness or whatever. And a lot of times people with chronic illnesses aren't believed. So I think I just want to say, I believe you. And I believe the toll that this is having on your emotional life, on your social life, and on your capacity and energy to pursue those things. So we believe you. We know this is hard. And we, as two strangers across the internet, are uniquely positioned to remind you of the other side, or not the other side. And we, as two strangers across the internet, are uniquely positioned to help, turn the perspective just a little or shine light on things that maybe your loneliness and your exhaustion aren't necessarily letting you access right now. We're not here to say any of your experience isn't real. We're not here to say any of your experience is easy, but I do feel uniquely positioned to say, and also, there are so many other sides to humanity and partnership that are beyond the scope of the relationships that you are thinking of, in terms of relationships in which people are equally matched in energy or totally outgoing, or who don't want to hear about people's burdens. Like, I just feel like there is more to our humanity than the relationships that you're painting in your head. And everything you're feeling and experiencing is real, whatever. We'll get into that. Affirm. But I am so confident that there's people out there that want to carry, quote, these burdens that you say. And I'll talk more about that when we come back from a very, very quick break.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I want to echo what Sierra said about hustle culture and sort of this idea around like, oh, if you are not able to like go out and do things and be productive and meet people and all this stuff, then you're somehow less than, which is absolutely not true. It's just the place that we're currently in as a society. And I also want to like name that what is also true around people with chronic illness is that we want them to be like inspirational and positive all the time as well, right? Like, you know, if we're told something about a chronic illness, it's like either that person is like, it's like a sad story where the person is like so sad and they're going to die / whatever. Or it's like this story of like, and even despite that, look how hopeful they are. Look how excited they are for the future. Look how sad it is when they finally pass, that it's just like this beautiful, heart-wrenching moment because they never gave up on life. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's so many movies out there that are just like about this, like a person experiences some sort of illness or disability, and then like they are this like triumphant, inspirational, positive story that like still ends in tragedy, but it's like, oh my God, so heartwarming. And like, I can't imagine the burden that it feels like to be somebody with a chronic illness, to try and like hustle and like do the things that we require people to do, and also be like, try and be positive all the time, right? Or try to like, again, like Sierra said, tell your story and not have it be believed, because it's like, people can't empathize with what it might feel like to be in chronic pain or to have all of these digestive issues that cause all sorts of discomfort and pain, that make it impossible for you to eat, that affect your mood, that affect your ability to, get yourself out of bed. And so I want to just like name for you, and I think that you probably already know this, but I just want to like give you permission from a random person across the world to say that like, it's okay for you to not be hopeful right now, right? It's okay for you to not want to be positive. It's okay for you to be like, I keep getting bad news and that's hard to deal with, right? I don't feel like, cool, I'm going to triumph through this adversity, or I'm going to make it through and be a better person at the other end of this, right? But instead to be like, it's hard, it's fucking hard to get bad news over and over and over again, for things to feel like they're getting progressively worse. Like, I want to just give you permission to feel and experience that, and to say like, yeah, that makes sense that you would be feeling that way, because it sounds like you've gotten a lot of shitty news recently. It sounds like you've been through 4 years of pain, discomfort, of fever, of feeling weak and tired and nauseous. Like, yeah, that would be really difficult. And I don't need you to perform some sort of like hopeful, striving go-getter in order for you to be lovable, right? I want to look at the human that is you and say, oh my God, this sucks. I'm so sorry that you're going through all of this. I can understand how it would be taking a toll on your mental health, on your social life, on your ability to date. And I don't necessarily expect anything else from you. I don't expect you to be rising above this and finding a way forward, right? I just expect you to be a human handling what has been a really difficult 4 years. And that's what you're doing. Even though you aren't dating, even though your social circle has gotten smaller, even though you feel hopeless, right? All of those things are shitty. I'm so sorry that you're feeling that way. And also, all of those things are part of dealing with what you're dealing with, which is terrible and awful. And I'm so sorry that you're going through it.
I also, before I get to the main point that I want to get to, I just want to say like a quick funny aside about social battery. Social battery is like the number one currency in 23-year-olds' lives, you know? And that's unfortunate. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I don't even know how I socialized as much as I did when I was younger. But that social battery, I just want to point out just a small, I don't know, observation. That social battery becomes less and less valuable, less and less important as you get older, as we settle into this life. You know what I mean? It is not the thing that will make or break friendships, I think, in your 30s. Do you know what I mean? And I know you're a ways off from that. I just want to say that, though, for perspective. But the main thing I wanted to talk about today is that I want you to feel everything you need to feel, right? This sucks. This is hard. This makes things more difficult. And at the same time, I don't want you to forget the diversity of people and their preferences and the diversity in dynamics in relationships. And what I mean by that is there are people out there who would love to be the person you come home to and unburden themselves to. There are people out there who would find a great sense of purpose and a sense of value in that. There are people who are helpers to their core, caretakers to their core, and that they don't feel like themselves unless they are in situations where they can like, to be specific, you know, even my wife, like, my wife has a personality where she really likes to be needed. She really likes to be helpful. She's a great employee for that reason, but she's an even better partner because she finds a sense of purpose in helping. We always used to joke, I'm way less of a hot mess now, but we used to joke that like she likes that I'm a hot mess because it brings out her helper. It brings out her purpose, right? And so I just want to use that as an example that you're viewing this as a burden. And does it make your life harder? Yes. Is it going to change your dating landscape? Yes. But I'm not sure it's the burden. It makes it different. It doesn't necessarily make it a burden. You know, just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. And also we know that this is hard, this is bad. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to shift the way we carry it because there are people out there who find the most fulfillment in life from being the support to someone. And I'm living proof of that, is that like my partner longs to have a purpose like that. And I think you can find someone who doesn't feel burdened by you coming home and talking about how laborious it is to go through the medical system, to have all these secondary issues and how exhausted you are. Because a lot of people out there with a heart and like listening apparatuses are going to say, oh my God, yeah, that makes so much sense. Like, and a lot of people out there with empathy and caretaking in their core are going to be like, yes, of course you want to like unburden yourself from that. Of course you want to tell me about that. And even better, the lovers, the caretakers, the partners out there who thrive off of that, they're going to learn the landscape of what you need, right? Sometimes you're going to want to come home and you're not going to want to talk about it. You're just going to want to sit and snuggle and watch a show. And sometimes you're going to want to talk about it and they just need to listen, right? They just need to listen. And sometimes they need to offer advice and suggestions for how to change. And you're going to learn that with the person out there, the people out there that you open yourself up to. I just want to shift the perspective from being like, this makes my life harder, but this doesn't make me harder to love, right? There are like, and I know that sounds cliche, but I see it so clearly right now sitting in this current moment that we are all so different in what makes us feel fulfilled in relationships. And I'm confident. I know for a fact that there are people who, as partners, they like to be the caretaker position. They like to be the support system. And I think we see that as a burden. The word burden, the choice that you used when you said, I'm having hard days and I don't want to dump my hard days on them, my burdens on them. That is your human right too. You know what I mean? Like, that is, if you came to me and said, I'm having a really hard year, a lot of my days are harder than they are easier, you're not burdening me with that truth. You're letting me know who you are. You're letting me know how I can help you. And I just want to, I know that doesn't solve everything. That doesn't magically make your body different. That doesn't magically change the wiring in our brains that tells us we are unlovable when we are difficult. Do you know what I mean? But I just want to add this, and again, extend my hand across like the void and say, some people love taking care of other people, and that's not a turnoff. That's in fact a great value and a purpose to their life. And I don't even mean it in like a fetishizing way or a weird dynamic way. Do you know what I mean? I know it is true because I live it.
And I think that what happens for folks sometimes is that, you know, we are all born on this relationship escalator, right? Where we're sort of like, here's what the life is going to look like. And we're told the story that the only way to get to a happy place is by being on this escalator. And then something happens to us and we get shaken off that escalator, right? And that might be because we have chronic illness, or it might be because we struggle with fertility, or it might be because we are, you know, queer or trans, right? And suddenly it's like we're off the escalator and we're still watching everyone else kind of go up that escalator. And we're like, oh my God, look at all of them. Look at all of them going to that second floor, which is where love is promised and everything's easy. And I'm down here and I will never be able to get on that escalator. I've been thrown off and now I will always be unhappy and I'll never know a love like the love I'm supposed to know. And I think what happens for folks who get thrown off that escalator is that we start to look around and realize that there is actually a lot of good love that exists on this first floor, right? That exists without needing to go through that escalator, and that we can find people who have themselves been thrown off the escalator, or maybe got off the escalator because they didn't want to be on it anymore, or maybe got to the top floor and were like, wait a minute, this isn't the paradise that I was promised. This isn't solving all my problems or making me feel great. So I need to do something different. I need to find a way to exist in a place that doesn't have just one set path. And those initial moments of looking at that escalator and saying, look at all those people going to that top floor, I can't believe I'm never going to be one of them, is so difficult. It is profoundly challenging to do that because we've been told there's only one way to get to the relationship you want, and it's by following this path. And I just want to name that the first floor is messier, for sure. The first floor can be complicated. There can be lots of different ways that you can go through it, and it doesn't guarantee anything, right? There's no guarantees on the first floor. We're not saying happiness is yours for the taking, right? But there are a lot of people down here who are trying to find ways to be in relationship with each other and to see each other, not just as vehicles to get to that promised second floor, but instead as real people who, for lots of different reasons, are complicated and need things that maybe we weren't expecting, or that have something that is causing them a lot of pain and a lot of heartbreak. And recognizing that those people are also lovable and worthy of support and need to be caretaken for and are capable of having beautiful, sustaining, wonderful relationships with people. And I know that might sound really trite in this moment, right? And as somebody with a chronic illness, I don't want to pretend like I know what it's like to date with a chronic illness, because I don't. And I know for a fact that there are lots of people who are willing or have had to give up on that idea of this like perfect relationship that exists in this perfect way, who are going to look at you as somebody who is beautiful and wonderful and lovable and say, I love you despite of and because of the fact that you have this disease that gives you the worldview and perspective that it does, right? That's going to be able to say, Crohn's disease is not something that I can't handle as a loving, supporting partner. Like, I want to be with you as we figure this out. And I think it's important to remember that those people do exist out there for lots of different reasons. And I don't know if you're going to find that person, right? I don't want to make any guarantees. I don't want to make any promises. I'm not going to say like, oh my God, it's fine. You'll find your person and it'll all be perfect. Because I'm off the escalator too. Like, I'm also not sitting on it being like, yes, we're all going to this predetermined place with this predetermined process. But I will say that whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's friendship, whether it's family, chosen family, there are people out there like Sierra and I, who love you with this disease and that would love to support you through it because you are a person who's worthy of love and support. And you don't need more than what other people are capable of giving, right? You are somebody who will find and deserves love in this world.
And you're not a burden, even if those around you are unable to meet you where you're at, even if they act like you're a burden. I think we've been conditioned to feel like, again, hustle culture, non-dependency, that says something about them and not about you, because you're not responsible for other people's treatment of you or their ability to show up for you. That is not that is not because of you, that is because of them, right? All right, my darling, we love you. We know that you are worthy as is. We believe you. We believe the full gamut of this experience, the full spectrum. And we also understand if I said that we believe the full gamut of this spectrum because we know that it goes anywhere from radical self-acceptance to grief, that your life isn't
for real. Yep.
What you thought it was, right? We see all of that. We accept all of that. And you are not a burden to us in any way whatsoever. And we hope this helps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening. All right, everyone. This brings us to the blind date segment of our episode. This is when we try and set you up with something that we think you're really going to like. And this week we want to send you home with...
Okay, so it's a TV show that is coming out like right now. This episode's going to air like a couple weeks after we recorded it. So I'm sorry if the show totally tanks by the time that this episode come out. But
sure. Y'all
know that Spencer and I spent 2021 and 2022 watching the entire Marvel catalog like virtually together during my pregnancy. And so I am a Marvel fan. My favorite thing that Marvel has ever done is the WandaVision show that came out on Disney a couple years ago. It's wildly good. And I'm really enjoying. I'm only 2 episodes out in because they're releasing them like weekly, but I'm really into the new Agatha All Along series that is out on Disney Plus. And yeah, if you're into Marvel, if you're into witchcraft, if you're into Catherine Hahn, who I love, and Joe Locke, who was from Heartstoppers. It's just like really fun. Aubrey Plaza, Patti LuPone, like it's a great cast. So it's Agatha All Along, but also WandaVision on Disney Plus.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like access to our monthly office hours, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to those monthly office hours. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise heavily discounted.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcasts and his music. And remember, we've been sold a lot of lies about our values, about our lovability, about the relationship escalator, and those lies come from trauma, and they come from ableism, and they come from hustle culture, and all of the isms out there. And it can be really hard to actively unravel and unwrap those inherited insecurities. But in this moment, let it be easy. Let yourself believe wholly that you are worthy because of your disability. You are worthy because of your chronic illness. You are worthy because of everything that has threaded together to make you exactly who you are in this moment. And if all else fails,
just break up.